Back in 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon here as we grind along the lows for both the S&P and the NASDAQ at this point this afternoon. It has been one of those days where we're seeing a ton of tech weakness once again, offset by a little bit of strength coming out of the banking group, and also pharmaceuticals and energy stocks notably strong as we head into the final couple of hours here this afternoon. We are dealing with a little bit of a green day up here as well as far as retailers are concerned. Again, Home Depot coming up Tuesday. We'll get earnings, and then later in the week, next week, Walmart set to report as well. We're also set to get July retail sales data coming through next week as well. That's going to be the major economic release. There's Lowe's having a nice day, also to the upside to the tune of 1.5%. However, yeah, ugly day for some other names here. Tesla 1.4% to the downside, 2.82%, almost 3 at one point there for Disney, giving some of the strength we saw yesterday back and then some. I was wondering in the pre-market, if you were with us, we were talking a little bit about whether or not we get day two kind of follow through from Disney today, but definitely not the case. Right out of the gate this morning was very weak, as were this entire group. But NVIDIA specifically, 3.5% at one point, a bit of a bounce right now, 3.2, 2.2 for AMD. Broadcom, all of the major semiconductors to the downside too. Wrap up what has been otherwise pretty positive week, but we'll see how the NASDAQ plays out here in the final couple of hours. Meta, Microsoft, Google, all getting worse by the minute. Same story for Apple downside and Amazon to the downside as well. It was an interesting morning, the way we set up, coming off of PPI. If you missed it, coming in a little bit better than expected, but 2 days in a row, it was mixed reports on the inflation front. So the market, again, a little bit confused as to, what the reaction should be, or the proper reaction should be, and directionally speaking. We were touching on some of the Chinese ADRs to kick things off this morning. All were gapping down. There was reports suggesting that the stimulus that a lot of people have been talking about, a lot of people have been waiting for, not only hasn't shown up yet, but might end up being a little bit less than expected right across the board. So everything tech-related specifically, Alibaba, JD.com, PDD, Bilibili, even the EVs, Xpeng, Li Auto, NIO, all downside to start things off today, guys. It's been one of those slow, kind of grindy days to the downside overall, heading towards the weekend here.
Yes, sir. It has been a grindy day to the downside. I'm out of my primary short. I'm out of it now. We'll get to that at some point. I guess we don't really talk about the chips. We'll get to that randomly, I suppose. But there was another sell idea, and I don't have it. I decided SMCI was going to be kind of the focus for the short trade, and then JD, which set up pretty well for the south side. I didn't grab that trade because I was trading something else. But you just got to look for bad news. This is it, trending back in. Going to open up underneath the 50 period on the daily. That's reason number one. Then you're going to have a gap underneath previous support. That's reason number two to like it. Then you're going to break down. That's kind of like your third reason. And they all kind of come together. Just being short in here. There was a pop to short the lower high. But at that point, I was focused on SMCI, which I might as well show in a bit. But I wanted to go to Alibaba because we're going to talk about this name usually first when it comes to, and the position went again. So position board keeps coming on and off. I'm long AMD 107, short Mullen 99 cents, short WeWork at 22 cents. Those are my three positions right now. Alibaba, I didn't think it was going to get down to, and you would have heard me say this morning, that I didn't think we'd get down to this previous close, not yesterday's close, but 2 days ago when it closed underneath 95. I doubt we get there. That's kind of where I think the dip buy might be, and this is where I would have gone long in any Chinese ADR. Didn't do it. Now you're ranging off the bottom. I don't think there's a trade this afternoon because they're not volatile enough. So I'm staying clear of these. Next week, I think we'll have an opportunity. But one thing I want to point out is you would have heard Max say it, and I will be looking at this level like every other trader is, Meta 300. It feels like this is almost like an easy bounce play every time it gets down there, and eventually if it breaks, I think the short's going to make some sense. So this Meta 3,300 level on Meta almost has to be looked at regardless of direction that you like here. So a couple of names that are not Chinese ADRs I think can be trades. Next week, can they hold support, I think is the real story. I come in thinking short on JD next week. based on that 50 period being underneath.
Yeah, nice look there. We were talking about Baba this morning, if you don't remember, that we were looking for that pop and drop, like second day earnings, right? We talked about those levels kind of being defined, and we can't even get there. We kind of reject off this day low, right? You can call it day low, but that initial opening low there, and then you hold underneath VWAP and just sell off for the whole day. So I think that kind of reflects how the market's been kind of moving as well. But yeah, Baba selling off on the day.
We're just talking a little bit about Tesla to get things going into the close, possibly. I mean, overall, if you look down here, this kind of tells the story of where we're at on the afternoon. Volume very, very low across the board. Tesla was one of the ones that, I mean, it was setting up interesting this morning, but ends up being a bit of a tough trade as well. Anyway, if you're just joining, here's what you missed early on this morning. Again, PPI. Yeah, to the upside once again. I mean, it wasn't huge, but a couple of tenths here and there pointing in the wrong direction as far as PPI is concerned. But again, not the closely watched reading on inflation. Obviously, CPI, the one we got yesterday was, if you missed that, it was in line. And then a little bit downside as far as consumer prices are concerned. But still leaves a bit of a bad taste in people's mouths, I think, going into the weekend as far as what's to come from Fed Chair Powell coming up in September. Again, the 13th of September, we'll get the next CPI reading, and then the 19th and 20th will be the next Fed meeting with Fed Chair Powell, obviously. Still pointing towards a hold as far as what's going to come in that meeting, but who knows? I mean, maybe this turns things around a little bit.
Yeah. With respect to Tesla, though, we heard yesterday that one of the Mexican newspapers caught some of the construction equipment at the site in Monterrey, where they're looking to build their next gigafactory. They want to build the robo-taxi there. They're looking at building the new hatchback, which is supposed to be much better priced and slated possibly for the European market. So keeping an eye and watch and see how they do.
Yeah, this was the area I was talking about early on this morning. Going back to the pre-market yesterday, and then the low essentially, or the close from the prior day, comes into play again this morning. We get through that, and then it gives you, I mean, $2.5, $3 downside if you're looking that way. But back and forth we go, guys. Bit of a ping pong match today for Tesla.
Trying to break back up. So we're talking Tesla. So Randy, of course, meandered on over here. To which I said, you know, we have a microphone specifically set up. Fabian and Refrain got a microphone so that when anybody comes here, they have a mic and you can actually talk to everybody. And the first words out of Randy's mouth was like, nah, who cares? So you don't want to talk Tesla?
I don't have much to say. I should have researched it one day.
I can give you the mic.
All right,
He's gonna grab a mic. Okay. I'm gonna go over. No, I took mine. I'm gonna go over a couple of levels here for you because I did trade Tesla only off of the 241. This was the bottom here, and I was looking for a reversal pattern, like a fake false bottom through at the open. That kind of happened. It took out that low, regained it, scalped it, reloaded, no good. And then I went for the short underneath after 11 o'clock. I threw out lunchtime for the trend down style trade. That was working to the downside, no follow through to the low of the day, and then stopped out. So it's kind of the same thing, like work, doesn't work, second half doesn't work. So I end up flat both directions off the 41, and now it's the 41 to the upside that's playing out. The bigger story, of course, is the downward trend on Tesla. So Randy, I mean, everyone knows Tesla's been coming off for a little bit here, right? Like, you broke in the 50 period. It's breaking down a bit. Cathie Wood has been selling a decent amount. What are your thoughts in the next?
I would hang on. If there's a couple more dips in the next week or two, I would sit, I would hold it, buy the dip, play the volume, but there's good stuff coming. There's positive news coming. Just play the dips.
And this is why everyone on the show is buying dips in Tesla in their personal account, because Randy has told us to do so. Now, of course, we're not giving financial advice. It's more just that this is our expert when it comes to actual fundamental knowledge.
We've got some really good news in the pipeline that's a week to 2 weeks away. Possibly, we're just going to dip into September. Then we're going to see some positivity.
All right. Well, I would like it to get down to the 220s personally. Like, I'm looking at that previous, like, February top where it broke out. To me, that's an easy stink bid. Candidly speaking, I have a stink bid. My favorite number is 42. My second favorite number is 22 because Will Clark wore 22. So I'm stink bidding 222 on Tesla myself. I don't know, you do round numbers like that, you have fun with it. But any thoughts on any other EV names other than Tesla?
Not right now. I'm going to wait for some news on Rivian. Again, we're about probably 5 to 6 weeks away for some interesting news on Rivian. Yeah, another dip today, but how's the volume?
Volume's okay. 23
bad.
million, a lot of volume.
Not
What the
bad.
heck are we doing with Ford? What the hell's going on with Ford?
Oh,
Because
Ford.
Ford and GM, you got negotiations coming up.
So Unifor and some union talks, and there's demands. I mean, they were backing off their demands during COVID. Now they want their stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a battle. It's going to hurt them long term, maybe not, but there's negotiations that are pretty critical.
Yeah, and Ford, maybe it's head down to that 11, which has been an absolute gold mine. You know it, you love it. Whenever we have Randy, we have to take advantage of you here. So any plans for the weekend before we get you out of here?
Hopefully it's not raining. Maybe get it in the boat.
Fishing?
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Maybe fishing.
If it's raining, maybe not. We'll see.
You'll fish anyways.
Yeah.
He'll fish anyways.
Randy actually has a really cool boat. I don't know if he's shown you guys that he kind of worked on over the past couple of
Send an
years.
updated
It was a
picture.
COVID
Beautiful.
project.
I've
yeah.
seen it, but we'll show it again. Just send a picture in the chat and we'll show it again.
Will do.
Sounds good.
Cheers.
That is Randy. He does a little bit
thank
of
you.
everything around here. Technically speaking, he's IT, but I mean, you see him. He built the desk. He talks to the little Tesla.
He's a man of
knows
many
his
talents.
cars,
He's a
Many
man of many
talents.
talents.
and he always wears shorts. So that's Tesla. What's next? Oh, wait a minute. I know exactly what's next.
Oh,
Obi.
is it? Okay. Well, all right. So we see that Amazon kind of made a bit of a range here and tested both the kind of levels of interest that we were looking at, that 139 and that 137 here, and we're kind of consolidating here sideways, almost waiting to see where this will go. And yeah, sure, I'm still sitting a little short bias, but I'm keeping it aware that we are holding and churning in and around VWAP and some of this end of day consolidation from yesterday as well. So yeah, I like that hold underneath the 139, right? Again, it's had catalysts on and off. We are coming off just off of earnings just a couple of weeks ago, at the beginning of the month, right? So yeah, it's just holding. Hasn't really gone too far, but yeah, a bit of inside price action there on Amazon.
It's like feels like a winter coat on. Hi.
Hello.
And we're back. Amazon ends up being a bit of a sideways trade today. I mean, look at the past three. This is a 15-minute chart, obviously. Look at the past 3 days here on Amazon. It's 140 and it's 136 at the bottom. That's about all you get. I mean, there wasn't much on Amazon today. It was mostly positive analyst talk once again.
Yeah, let's talk about that because analysts are pretty much in consensus that they are bullish on the name. Let's look. Of the 38 analysts surveyed here, 16 are bullish and 21 are somewhat bullish. Only one is indifferent, Brendo. So a bit of consensus amongst the
Did they actually say that?
Yeah.
Indifferent.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a category.
Redburn Partners, meanwhile, upping their price target to $230. That's a hefty way to go still for Amazon.
Yeah,
That
that's,
is it's a little bit of room.
yeah, a little bit of room.
Well, but one of the issues with the analysts is like, why can't they just give a target date range for that? Like, you're putting that in a year out, 2 quarters, 5 years, 10 years. Like, it's completely meaningless. Everything in trading and investing is about what's your time frame. Like, because if you have different time frames and like one person's talking about one thing and someone's talking about another, Amazon, and let me just pull up my daily and weekly on Amazon from Trade Ideas so you can get an idea of like the bigger picture here on the weekly is you have run, and you're not quite there yet. Like 145 on the weekly is the level up here. You have touched it. You're pulling back off of that after earnings. The daily chart has this nice little earnings gap with, in theory, support at that top wick 137, which is what you're working off right now. And if you look at that, it's like that gap level. There's your 137. It's holding, and not to throw any, I'm not throwing shade or anything. It's just, I see a bit of a wedge forming, which I trade these all the time on small cap stocks where it gives you an opportunity to be short this, and if it flushes, you're going to get a big win. But it is kind of trending to the upside off of support at 137, where if it were to take out the top, I don't know whether that's going to be 139. I haven't been trading the stock today. I can let Obi talk to that. Maybe even the 140 probably, that's much, much more important. Like, you resolve this, you might not be home free long until it breaks back above 140. But it's a strong uptrend on the daily, as pointed out, where you're kind of just pulling back to the next support level and you haven't broken down yet. Now, if it breaks down, you could have $5 pretty quick. But it just hasn't happened yet for Amazon, so I think that day could come. It's just resolving itself now, and you have to be a little bit patient with this pullback because it's still holding that 137 level.
Right.
And the more that I look at it, now you would have had to be there right at 9:30. That was probably a really good long that you had a couple of minutes to grab at the open, but Amazon wasn't my baby. It's yours, Obi.
Yeah, definitely reasons to buy, regardless of whether you were short or long biased. Definitely reasons to get long showed up in and around that 137 here. We talked about that in the morning, right? Like I had $1.50 in the money. I shoulda, woulda, coulda covered, but like that's what we're here for. We're learning. We're trying to get better at this trading game, and that's what we're going to try to do every day. Now, Amazon. I just want to say why some of these key levels that we're kind of coasting around today are key. Amazon earnings, I've repeated this a few times, like we were sitting there watching the tape into the earnings move, into this earnings reaction. Ridiculous amounts of size at 140, at 139, at 137. So it makes sense that we're still kind of like consolidating in and around here. But the fact that the market is kind of weak has me holding this bit of a short bias here. Sure, not the best executions, but yeah, definitely keeping some of those earnings levels in play where volume, significant volume transacted. Before
we go back to the desk here, there's a question in the chat. SB Trader, what is Obi's full name? Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
That's his full name.
Yep.
Back to the desk.
Obi-Wan.
Rivian, same story. Ends up being a bit of a quiet trade today, but relative weakness, I guess, a little bit anyways, compared to the overall market here. We were discussing a few angles, including a Wedbush note calling it a Tesla rival in the next decade, which is maybe a stretch, but definitely some positive analyst moves here on Rivian over the past couple of days.
Yeah, no question. They did well on earnings. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, they delivered 12,640 vehicles. They produced almost 14,000. They also increased their total amount of cars that they want to deliver by the end of the year, 52,000. They're still up 17% on the year, though. I mean, even though it's been down a little bit. And they also want to use these LFP batteries, Brendo. They're supposed to be cheaper than regular lithium batteries, and they're supposed to be giving you a better margins on your cars.
Have you read this story about this Toyota solid state battery that's apparently a thing now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're essentially saying it's whatever range you're used to, get ready for double that. Because as soon as this comes, and it's coming apparently, that's what's going to end up being the case, which would be great for the industry in general. This low comes into play from yesterday as well, obviously. We're just sitting here at 2150, guys, for Rivian.
Well, Apple's gone.
Yeah, double this. You had the wick underneath it, but that's a 930 style play. Sometimes you just get those liquidity grabs underneath, and I love it. Like I've probably used liquidity grab more today than any other day in the last year because Obi, that's your term, the liquidity grab, and that's what they did on Rivian, only to find 2150 support. So that's the level to play off of. I'm not going to complicate anything here on this. It's a downward trend, and I got caught. I don't want to say caught, like I was trading this in the afternoon to be able to make like 10, 15 cent, 20 cent scalp trades when there's other things that were moving. And again, my focus is on that penny stock, which is big, but at the end of the day, it's doing kind of the same thing in here in a very tight range. So I think there's a scalp trade for you on Rivian. Before I move on, I would be completely remiss if I didn't mention Genius Brands right now. It's not going to be on the rundown, small cap mover. I had the short in this one, and it was looking like it was going to get back to $1. As usual, I'm going to stop out at the high of the day. That's what I always do. Try to limit the amount of risk when you're going to get counter trend. As usual, the moment I get out was the key level, and there's a reason why I was at 115, the out. That's because that's 115 here. Last time, this is $1. This is 90 cents there. It breaks $1. There's 115. There's 135 and 140 where it is right now. That 115 should have been a reverse. Wasn't that focused on it. Was just like, okay, the short back reversion into $1, hold some if it breaks a low, and then you trend off that 115 the rest of the day. So a pretty big move to the upside for Genius Brands. We will be watching this one I'm in Mullen, which is working again here. And to answer your question, AK, there is an after show. I'll be stepping into the after show. We got Michael Noss coming in as well. So myself, Brandon, Michael Noss, we'll have a discussion. We'll answer your questions, all the good for sure. But as far as Rivian goes, I feel like it might be a bit range bound. But the scalp off that 2150 has been working.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. I see that as well. That 2150, very clear, right? You have that lick wrap that Neil mentioned, and yeah, a little bit of support from yesterday as well, kind of confluencing that level. Looking very similar to the rest of the market, kind of a lot of names in the market, kind of consolidating sideways here, giving you that range trade off of that 21. So that's a good look.
We're just laughing about Davey Day Trader here. Here's the headline. This was actually, I think, late yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dave Portnoy brushes off fake news saying he ain't selling pen. So stop saying he's going to. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this Disney angle to this. Obviously, ESPN owned by Disney. Yeah, ouch. Gives it all back and then some for Disney today from yesterday.
Yeah, Barstool Sports book, now known as ESPN Bet, and that cost them about $1.5 billion for 10 years. It says it's going to increase consumer engagement, target a younger audience. Bob Iger said there were many suitors, but Penn seemed to be the most appropriate. It's an interesting marriage here, Brendo. We know that Bob Iger wants to divest. That's the word I was looking for the other day. Divest many of the company's holdings, including ABC and a number of other things. Interesting that he's taking on this one.
1.2 million shares were previously issued to Portnoy as part of the closing of the Barstool Sports transaction in February of 2023. Huh. So that was a new filing coming through this morning. I didn't actually see that in the pre-market, but yeah, not good here, guys, for Disney today.
Nah, it wasn't the best for Disney. And that said, as long as you're particular about like your trade and sort of your setup and willing to get out when you have to and take some profit when it's good, then it can at least work out for you when you're not with the trend. Because it was breaking out, I said above the 90 level on the daily, which is this little double top in here. I like the longs. There was 91 that got put in yesterday, the 90 break, rejected 91, then held 91 and got into 92. So those are the two levels. As it starts dipping down, wait around for it to get to 90. It got to 90, wicked the bottom, jumped into the long trade, scalped a bunch till 90.50. Ultimately, the big decision would be, can it hold at 91 even? If it breaks up, look to get more long as it holds 91 into 92. That never happened. It trailed out 91. I did try a second time to buy the dip off the same level and just stopped out at the low of the day. So, you know, in and out. I would love to be able to say I sniffed it out and was short in a reversal at 90 even. I flipped, oddly enough, the day it was strong. Like yesterday, I flipped from long to short on Disney for the afternoon and then didn't even get advantage of the huge flush. And today, I don't flip from long to short, and it's an even better reversal. But you have to just take the good with the bad. It was a good trade. I can't complain about it. It's only better if I reverse off that level, and I didn't do it. I just want to point out WeWork broke. I just got out of WeWork, so I was short this twice. You know, the 15 minutes useless for this penny stock. I was short this twice. First when I hated the entry up here at 21. And said, let's wait for it to get to VWAP. Got the VWAP curl, shorted 22. It was down in there to give me that 10% move into 20. I'm like, okay, let's see if it can break down. Because to me, if it broke down 19 even, like next is 18, I was bidding 18 and then looking for the 16, 17. I was thinking big leg to the downside, hold on to it, but it just broke back out past break even on me, so I'm now out of WeWork. If it holds VWAP, maybe there's a long to be had in this particular name, but you know, Disney, good long, only better if I had reversed it into the short trade, but that wasn't my thesis at all.
Yeah, we talked about that 91 in the morning as well, right? I said that on my charts as well, multi-time frame level in and around that 91, and then look at what happens. You kind of flush, you retest. You can barely get 30 cents past that 91, and then you slam it back right back down, get below VWAP. Sellers really come in, and you even break that 90 off of that. So yeah, 91 showing itself a little bit post earnings that it kind of wants to stay heavy. So yeah, it's a good look.
I see in the chat here, Mr. Right or Wrong. It's out, not out. I don't know. Like, I'm Canadian, man. I think we're supposed to have an accent. We say a boot. and I say out however I say out. It's just how we roll. We're in Toronto, Canada, so sometimes you got to live with a Canadian accent. It's all good. We never notice it, but I've been told that I have a Canadian accent, and I think Sean and I hear it, and I listen to myself. I don't think I have a Canadian accent. I see it on South Park when they have Canadians talk, and they go like way out of bounds.
They might be exaggerating just a little bit.
Oh, they exaggerate. I got the best. We're gonna go back to the desk in 1 second, but I've told this one before. When the South Park movie came out, there's like they're ragging on Canadians the whole time. That's the whole idea. Like it's the war against the Canadians, and then they have that one gag with Operation Human Shield. I don't know if you've seen it. Okay, so Operation Human Shield was obviously all the brothers of the Human Shield. So they're ragging on the brothers and on Canadians, and I'm in a theater right in the middle with myself and my brother, and it's like we're the only brothers there, and we're both Canadian, and we're dying the whole time. I love stuff like that. I love when you can take comedy and don't take anything too seriously and just have fun with it. I don't know how you can get away with that nowadays, but great movie. I still don't think I have a Canadian accent, but I know somebody that does, and that's Fake Brendan.
Now I'm the one with the accent. Amazing. Brought to you by Trade Ideas, real-time scanning and alerting used on the desk by everyone you see on the show. See what's moving in the moment, guys, with Trade Ideas. Check out the link, 20% off, bottom right corner. Use that QR code. Michael Noss coming up at 04:15 on the after show-ish today. Make sure you stick around.
Okay, so that's just not fair. Like you guys watch the show, you know that I said Fake Brendan because that, like it gets played, and then the audio is like a little bit different, and it's like it's not really Brendan, but it's him taped, and it sounds different. And so all of a sudden, when I try to make a joke about it, then you actually have Brendan read it so that I look like a heel. Okay, I see what's up. No, it's fine. It's fine, Fabian and Remain. It's all good. No, I'm just having fun with you guys. So a couple of things here. Havana, I'm going to get to that in a second. Havana Woody in the chat wants to talk some TTOO. VWAP just broke on Mullen. I told you I wasn't going to reload this on the way back to the upside. So for anyone watching the show this morning, I was short early on Mullen after the reverse split. It dumped at the open, took advantage of the dump, and then held on to the last 10% for a break of 101. Did not reload at that price. But when it failed the pre-market high, I got right back in at 99. Was unable to add to it. I was sitting passively trying to add to this position the whole time in that barcode, and I could not get a fill. But I take some out VWAP at 98. I'm bidding now underneath 96 here. I'll put a bid at 95 as well. So Mullen, once again, just gives you that trade off of the dollar. I love the trade off the dollar. Take advantage of it when I can. And TTOO, this looks spicy again. And I know you're talking 45 there. Havana Woody in the chat. Shout out to you. You've kind of been persistent with this name. The big level, and the last time I was trading this one and not paper handsing it, yes, I paper hands this long here. I will say it, I don't mind admitting it. Havana Woody, you gave me grief over it for paper handsing this 33 to 37 move. But the last time we actually got it good was the 33 long here, and then the 40 breakout into 45. So if it gets back to that 45 level, I think that's an all-world breakout. We'll cross that bridge eventually when we get to it. John Del Sengo, I can't pronounce it, Del Sengo? Del Senio. Mostly a U.S. accent, you think. Some words, I have a Canadian accent. I sound American, huh? Interesting.
You know how you can tell someone's from Toronto?
How do they say Toronto?
Yeah, pretty much.
Toronto.
It's like Toronto. And then someone who's like Toronto, like, okay, they either are a stickler for pronunciation, or they're not from Toronto.
That was the gag in the Woody Harrelson movie, because it was like the movie The Man from Toronto.
Oh yeah. I still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. But apparently him and Kevin Hart were just saying it wrong the whole time, and so they didn't sound like people from Toronto, which I find absolutely hilarious. Just one more to get to, because I showed you guys Mullen. The other position I'm still in is AMD. It was a good long off the 107 level. This is a 15-minute. I was short this really early on for like it was a tight stop, but if I'm shorting lows, I'm always going to get out pretty quick. Like there's a short, it either works right away when you're taking a breakdown trade and we flush to 105, or like get the heck out of Dodge. Then the long off 107, third time was a charm again with tight stops. It had to wick the bottom underneath and reclaim. I got this bad wick, so the scaling's gonna be messed up on this chart. It's been resisting 108, so it'll get the dollar in the money, which I've taken once, but cannot break through. I wanna hold it to 09s. I don't wanna long it up here, but I wanna hold it to 09s at least a little bit to give it some room to run. The market is in a bit of a range, but it is consistently trying to bounce off the bottom and resolve to the upside. Tesla is starting to move as well, so I wanna get to Tesla for a second. You're talking about something that maybe it's down 1%, which is more than the market, but it's at the high of the day. So while technically it's not strong, momentum-wise it obviously is, right? It has a decent chance to take out this high as the NASDAQ is creeping to previous support. So that previous support, 15.15, was early morning resistance and overnight support. As we creep to that level, not really thinking curl, like think about shorts as we get up into this range, but let the longs run. So I'm going to let the register ring. I'm going to let this one ride to the upside on AMD until we get to that level or find the even dollar. And Tesla is setting up for a bit of a breakout here as well. How are you feeling about it? Because Amazon has been holding that resistance still, despite the fact the market's going up again.
So I think this sort of consolidation can be signified by like what happened end of day yesterday, right? Let me pull that up again. You kind of have a like very distinct range, and I remember taking a couple trades off of this range yesterday, and then we kind of come in today, and we're kind of holding this range as well. While the market is looking pretty weak, sure, we're kind of testing the top of that range right now, but the 80s, roughly in and around the 80s, is where that range kind of takes place. And you know, we've already had higher highs than these 80s before, so we're still holding. Technically, these are still lower highs on the day. Sure, there's a little bit of consolidation above VWAP. I'm aware of that, and yeah, maybe we were talking about this earlier. Maybe I got to work on a little bit of the take profits part of my trading, because I only see entries. I only see entries as of right now. But yeah, definitely big learning lesson today where I'm like, yeah, I could have taken this same trade, but if I had a couple of outs, like we would have been generating some decent cash flow along the way, taking this move while we would kind of wait to see what Amazon wants to do with this range here. So yeah, still a little short here, still a little short bias. I like that even though that the market is kind of raging to the upside, Amazon still wants to hold this range. So my question becomes next, when the market does do a pullback, which it eventually will, right? Maybe today, maybe not. But if it does, and when that comes in, what will happen to the top of this range here? Are we going to stay respecting it? And I'll be keeping an eye out for that, right? And we see a little bit of a wick, kind of a failure to follow through past that 80, while as the futures are wicking up as well, right? So that's what I'm watching as well. I just want
to full screen that chart for a second.
This one right here.
This is what because when we were talking and you asked me what I thought.
Yeah.
All I said, look, my first point would be, like, if you look at each one of those entries and think of those as decisions, right? You made 6 decisions on that stock.
Yes.
On Amazon today. 6 decisions, of which I would call, you can very clearly, objectively, 4 of 6 decisions were correct. 3 of them were literally perfect. Right? So 6 decisions made, 4 of 6 correct, 3 of them literally perfect.
I wouldn't say literally.
No. Well, okay, so you point to me and tell me how those aren't perfect entries. Because if that's like the first one at the open and each one at that subsequent same price, those are all perfect entries. Those 3 are all perfect entries, regardless of the time frame. So my whole question would be is like when I would look, if I was looking back at my trading, it's like, okay, so 4 of 6 decisions right, 3 of them dead on. Like, how am I getting paid out? Because if it ends up stopping out the top, you have an overall higher time frame. And I've said this too, I had this conversation with Max. This is a really hard thing to do, but there was a trader who told me about this. Sometimes if you can think of yourself as like an algorithm, then you can combine an intraday swing trade, which is kind of what you're doing, which is a big picture, hourly chart, hold it, and then have scalp entries, but be maintaining the core position while also scalping in and out of it. It's as almost if you're doing 2 things at once. And that's what a lot of algos do. Like they can be trading Amazon, but they can have 5 different things they're doing on Amazon.
Right.
And they have different time frames, and they have different ways that they work. But if you look at your decisions, you could be holding the net short, while simultaneously scalping half the position and then profiting. And then that way, if it takes out the high of the day, you might be flat on the day on the stock. And then if it works all the way to the bottom, you make twice as much money. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not telling you to do it. It's just, I look at it and it's like, damn, if I could read it that much, like I would love to be able to read Amazon and have like perfect entries like that. But it's like, those are perfect sort of entry points for a scalp trader. So it's interesting. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you. But I don't know. I just feel like you said, there's a lot that I need to work on, right? I'm not like, oh yeah, I got some good entries and then like this is the trade. Like this trade can obviously be improved significantly if I do exactly what you're suggesting, is like if I have that churn type of mentality. Like sure, I'm taking the entries based off a scalp entry, but the idea is maybe a longer time frame, right? But I understand the scalp is there, but I'm also there at the prices that I think are kind of like places like pivot points or whatever you want to call them, a little bit of a tape read. But at the same time, like I should, like you said, I should definitely be churning this. There are places where like these are reasons to buy. So like there's no reason why I shouldn't be churning the core position, like you said. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get better at. And you said that's how algos trade. Maybe I'll have to wait for Neuralink to come in and become a cyborg for that. I mean, I can't wait for that. Imagine how trading would change if that became the case, and we all became some sort of cyborgs, and we're already kind of, we don't want to fight the algos. We're sidestepping the algos most of the time, right? If you're fighting the algo, I don't know. Maybe again, I'm waiting for that Neuralink to maybe give myself the chance to fight the algos. So But
speaking of
trading
fighting
will
things,
change.
Speaking of fighting things, because like you were saying something, you're a work in progress. Every trader is a work in progress because the market's always changing. So you're always looking at like, what could you do better? This is my segue to a stock that's moving that I was going to talk about anyways, and that's Palantir. Hey, Palantir breakdown. Don't get trapped at the bottom. Should have reversed. We talked about this morning, that I wanted the 15 breakdown, but I did not want to get trapped at the low, and I wanted to find a place to reverse. I didn't. At the time, I'll show you SMCI, which was kind of a focus. Because every time you don't reverse and then get a chance like this, it's like, well, why not get in here? The answer 9 times out of 10, because I was trading something else. Because if I was only focused on Palantir and that breakdown doesn't happen, well, there's going to be a reverse in it. If I'm focused on a stock and I get the wick out, a lot of times I'm pulling that trade the other way. But now you're suddenly breaking out 15.5. At least attempting to break out 15.5. You're above yesterday's close. You've got a stair step to the upside. The market's looking relatively strong. I just want to see us get past the local high. Like if this can creep, you're holding 15.5 on a dip here. You're making if you make a fresh high, I want to enter the long in Palantir. I like what this is trying to do up at that top. Tesla's still going as well. Wow, that's pretty strong. Tesla is super, super strong. But I have to talk about SMCI. This would be the reason I wasn't necessarily focused on the Palantir reversal, because I missed the short on this up at the top from this morning, and there was really only one other option for me. That was the quadrunk day, or whatever you want to call it. 263 was a good support level first day. It was a breakout yesterday at 63. So then down here was the only price after it flushed so much for me to get into the short. Shorted it down to the low. I did get a wick out at lunch, and then it held underneath 260. So then I just started shorting up underneath the 260 level, eventually got down to 252. I don't see much of a trade in this, but this was the focus of my day going short. I missed JD.com because of this short. I missed the reversal in Palantir because of this short. But that works out. Like, this is the one that I wanted to be focused on, so that's what we did. Now back over to some other names out there. Supermicro Computer's crazy. I just feel, we were talking about this morning. If you never get back above the 50-period moving average, are you not really just headed to 210 here? As fast as this came up, if this market does not want to make a significant bounce or a hold, this could be at 210, no problem. It was such an absolute moonshot. And a lot of the late longs to this, which are pretty recent, they're going to get put to the test. Like anybody that was long in the dip to 300 up to 360, they're probably already out. And then the people that took the break here at 280 are now under pressure if they're not already out. And anybody that was long off of this 220 level starting to ask themselves what they're going to do. I'm talking about the short terms there. So this was, yes, a $100 stock, but it did so much work that only started in May. and it really has not been that much time. So I see this one as being a bit of a short trade for the short term here, to be sure. And back over to Tesla, because this is starting to get a little bit interesting.
Yeah, there's a bit of a shake and bake that kind of happened on the markets there. I have Apple on the side of my eye. That like you have a hard sell that kind of comes in here. And then you almost have like a, what is this range? Like a 50-cent drop down to 178. Looks like the sell kind of comes in, and then you wipe it right back up to the opening of that candle. You're seeing a similar thing kind of happen. So a little bit of a shake and bake, and then like a failure back down. That's very interesting to me. Maybe a potential like a failure to follow through setting up here. But yeah, some that strength that's been coming in is being met with some a little bit of volatility here in and around this 178.50 and that 138 as well. So I don't know what's coming in, but yeah, that was some interesting price action that just happened right in and around this areas across the board there. Maybe we can take a look at like a 3-minute right here. Yeah, the NQ looks kind of similar as well. So a little bit of a market move. What was that off of? Just so a little quick bounce off of that 15.1, right? And then you flush into it, you bounce off of it, and then you kind of like get muted. So we'll see what that move kind of brings in as we pass it over to Brendo at the desk.
Just going through a relative strength scanner here, guys. This one popped up. Oxy, yeah, up nicely so far today, 3.4% at day highs. This was about mid-morning, so their subsidiary, 1.5, name of the company, obviously, coming up with this $1.2 billion grant, apparently. So some volume there at day highs for Oxy.
This one has been taking off pretty much all day. You would have heard Max and Obi talking about their new carbon capture, windfall, tax break, rich always get richer, and it is just 3.5%, continuing the trend up. I've been kind of looking at this one for a few weeks for a potentially like a breakout past the 68 level. Like the last time it was here, it was a good support for the dip. Each time it's broken away, at least the first couple of times it broke away from that price area, that's when you got to that 75, 76 top. So this might be doing it next week. This is exactly the kind of move that leads into the 68 break on Oxy. I think that could be pretty spicy, to be sure. GNS is still going in. TTOO, which I said we keep track of that TTOO. T2 Biosystems. Why is that still Oxy? There we go. Another press to the upside. The volume's only okay and it's starting to taper off a little bit. That would be the concern. And remember, if you're looking at where anything is running, these futures, they got really close and wicked just underneath resistance and then pulled back a little bit. So chasing the longs don't look like they made sense. I didn't quite get to any of the shorts that I would have liked just there. I was looking over at Meta. This did not, if Meta gets to 304.5 or 304, that would have been obvious, but it's kind of lingering here at 303. Not a bad entry, but not a perfect one either. And then Apple, you're already over in Amazon, so I feel like we're covered on that. No. Well, we are.
I mean, I'm watching other names as well, but
Apple 178.5. It's kind of a randomish price, but that's been a pretty good resistance spot. So the futures did pull back there. If we retest the highs, I like that Apple. AMD, I think just kind of has to come out at this 170, 107. Can't get rid of that wick. Doesn't seem to want to hold it. And if the futures pull back, you could be right back at the low. And if that's the case, I'm going to trail it out. It won't even get to like 108.5 here. And if it's not going to do that, then I think we can look for something else. The market could just barcode in that range. Yeah. And if it does, you want to get out at tops. And then if you like the long, you want to go long at the bottom. You want to find a reversal play to get you paid off on the slip side. So you want to get the short at the highs, which would have been Meta was the one I was watching, and Meta didn't really get to that high, unfortunately for me. The other one that we want to look at too would have been Microsoft. Load, 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 load. Microsoft probably, this actually looks the best in some ways. It's kind of strong relative to the market, which is why I wasn't focusing on it as much. There's a lot of these dark pool wicks today, but it did just wick the same high as this morning, like the 322.5. That's a scalp trade level, to be sure. Like really tight to that top, 332.5, 322.5. That looks the best setup to play off of these highs, but we are all green going into these levels. My trail's out on AMD. There hasn't been a red candle on my 15-minute on the NASDAQ. So it doesn't even look like we're an obvious turn just yet, but we are getting close to it.
Yeah. Here's a name I haven't heard in a couple days, I guess. Carvana.
That would have been perfect. You should have said.
Here's a name I haven't heard in a while.
There it is.
No, it's here's a name
a long time.
in a long time, and then you pause. A long time. I know the quote. But yeah, Carvana. Neil, have you taken a look at Carvana today?
Once.
Look at this name. I know a couple of people have been mentioning it in the chat. Kind of doing its own thing here. Carvana, very strong uptrend on the day, kind of gradually retracing yesterday's strong sell-off in and around that, underneath that 43 level. So we know that Carvana was moving around decently over the past couple of weeks. So I just want to pull it up and see. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to wait for Carvana backside. I don't think that backside is here yet. So even though it's been pulling back a bit, we haven't necessarily broken this extremely strong trend. Like, take a look at this on the daily, on the weekly as well. So like some of these bottoms from early 2023, straight grind up to the upside, kind of retested that 50-55 area, and then we're starting to pull back. So maybe this could potentially be the beginning of like a decent pullback down here, and then before a continuation. But it still has not broken this trend here, and it looks like it's kind of strong into Friday today, as the rest of the market looks a little weak and kind of meandering to the downside.
Well, anytime you tell me Carvana's moving, it's always going to be of interest because of the nature of the squeeze. It is a big shorted name here. Let me just double check, get you the recent short float on CDNA. Probably 37, no, 42%. 42% short float, 37 is upstart, I think. So it probably needs to take out 42, but there's lots of room to yesterday's high. 43 seems like obvious resistance. When it's stair-stepping like that, consolidations and dips are better than breakouts. So I think maybe a dip into 41.4, set it up, give it to the local bottom, and then get that break. That makes some sense to me. But wow, Tesla's on fire. DraftKings is absolutely on fire. Still people talking about DraftKings looking like a super strong name. I agree with you. It's hard to, I don't like going long at the top, but if it hasn't even given you a reason to get out of that trade as it keeps on testing the highs. Tesla just gave a dip right back into the previous high, holds that 243. This is where it now makes sense to jump into. Do you want to buy tops? But when it shows you it can resist that breakdown, that's a pretty decent sell candle with the market still going up. So if you can get a 243 in here, see if I can get cheeky and get in front of that 243, give it just underneath, and see if we can't break out the high of the day. Palantir's not going anymore. That's kind of frustrating. It's holding 15.5, but Palantir doesn't want to break out and make a new high, while Tesla is definitely going to the upside. As I said, Microsoft, I kind of like that to the short side. Meta, if it can get a little bit higher, I like that to the short side. Tesla, a little bit stronger than the rest. So if I chase something up at the highs with a tight stop, I think I want it to be Tesla, just given what I'm seeing here with that strength. And if you're still looking at Genius Brands, no break at the top yet. Still chilling out, actually pull back a little bit. Hasn't really tested the 150. If it does, I think that gets pretty spicy above 150. Once you get past here, you get into that move into $2. So I have it up. If its volume spikes, if it takes out the top, I'll go right over to Genius Brands. This is one of the small cap names that I'm looking for potential take of the high. And then a little bit of a runner. So has to take out that top first. Volume has to come in, or I do not have to play. There goes Tesla. I just got my entry in there in front of 243. As I said, give it to the local bottom. If it shows strength to break it out of the top, look to add. If it goes past 244, 245 on a Friday is an obvious level that I think we find resistance at.
Ponzi Fonzie in the chat saying Apple giving itself a wedgie. I like that. That's funny. Yeah, a bit of a wedge formation there on Apple. Yeah, that's a funny joke. A lot of names. Yeah, testing their highs on the day. But I want to point out there is one that is unlike the rest. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is one of the only ones kind of not really anywhere near its high of day, kind of consolidating near its low of days here.
Yuck.
You can't really get above this 412 area here, this consolidation range. underneath this morning consolidation range, so almost stepping down, continuation of that downtrend that we've been having from the attempted 500 test, right? We're like really strong into the 500. We can only get to 480, and then you reject 475. Yeah, you might have a little bit of a pullback here, and we're seeing that happen, kind of continuation to the downside here. But yeah, looking a little bit different than the rest of the markets, which is what I'm keeping in mind as well. And I think Neil's obviously covering SMCI, right? So SMCI looking relatively similar as well. We can take a look at some of the other chip names as well.
SMCI kind of broke the channel at the bottom, and I was only thinking short. So I think I'm done with that stock today.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's gone a little sideways. That's what you mean. Yeah. So once that channel kind of broke, yeah, I think you got the right idea there. But Nvidia looking weak as well. Let's take a look at Intel and AMD here to see if they're kind of reflecting that kind of action. Now they're not really market leaders, but since we are kind of checking the caps, chips, large cap chips, we will take a look at AMD as well. So Neil's saying that AMD a little bit stronger. Yeah, AMD is definitely a little bit stronger. Now that 110 level, see, I have this 112 mark from earlier as well. We got a little bit of exhaustion from that level, rejection from here. But yeah, that consolidation underneath that 110, I think it's really interesting. You gave you that price in the pre-market. I think we were talking about this morning, that 110 short. Sometimes the best prices, we've said this multiple times, sometimes the best prices run away as fast as they can because, again, the demand for good things usually is pretty high.
You want to go right away. Like, it's when we're looking at your Amazon chart, that's exactly the reason. Like, if you look at some of those entries that you had, it just runs away from it the second you get that fill. I did just get the 43 on Tesla, and then it went right to the top. Little bit of a lower high here. So you had a wick top at 243.50. So I get some out in front of that because it's already showing some rejection at the first half dollar. I think to add to this, you want higher lows into 244. So far, so good on Tesla. You always want to ring the register when you get an opportunity to. It is a pretty strong name. I do like it. If the market does curl, it's still got 25 points to resistance, and then even then you've got another like 10, 15 on the NASDAQ to the actual morning high. So there's definitely room to run here. Market is trying to recover. You've got like 5 consecutive green candles on my 15-minute chart on NASDAQ. There we go, Tesla. It's arrows up, baby. But I just noticed a little something. Everybody's going long in the market, but no one's going long on the like button, so you know what to do.
Hola, like and subscribe today.
Thank you, Kat, for that warm, I guess, what are you going to call it, welcome?
It's a gentle nudge and a gentle reminder.
Yeah, call to action, how about that?
It is, well, that's actually the term. It's a call to action. That's what
I was trying to remember what it was called. But yeah, definitely like and subscribe. I'm definitely trying my best. I don't know. A lot of big shoes to fill, of course, not the same energy as Sean, of course, We're definitely missing him up here.
You gotta be you. Like this
exactly.
This is the sort of thing like
I'd rather be myself. In the wise words of Russ himself, I'd rather be myself.
And I love it. There's only one person who's actually professional. Like Brendan's obviously professional. You can kind of tell. Like he has broadcast experience. But the advice that he gave, I remember when we started doing this, was it's very easy to see when you're not being yourself. So like you guys could really be able to tell if you're like forcing it. You just got to be your own personality. Like if something really excites you, you get excited. If it doesn't, then you just kind of like play into it. Because we want to be real for you guys. Like you don't want to focus on just trying to fill some kind of like a fake niche or whatnot. And that's what I hope gets put across on the show, and what I love about the fact that we get to have different people on the desk because
different trading styles.
You're very different from Max. You're very different from myself. I'm different from Sean. Sean's different from everybody. From Max or Sharif is different from. We're all very different. There might be little similarities here and there. Like I'll look at every now and then, like Max will play like a Carvana. And I'm like, ooh, there's a little bit of that's kind of how I would do this, but it's never exactly the same, and no two traders will ever be the same.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just blindly follow somebody else. You want to maybe incorporate something that you learned from somebody else into what works for you, and that's what we're all about. So smash the like just for that, but also just because you want to put a smile on Katrine's face, because that's what we like to do in the afternoons. It is Friday. You ain't got no job. You ain't got ish to do except sit here and enjoy the show. You know what's up. I love Friday. Friday's what a great movie. The guys in the back know what I'm talking about. I just realized something about Friday, which I'll probably say at another time when we're not dipping on Tesla, because Tesla's now coming back in. I do like the notion of a reload. So let's look for it to bounce, put in a higher low, and try and grab the reload on Tesla. AMD's not doing anything. Meta for the short. Yeah, I don't know. Meta.
Yeah, I think that you
about
mentioned
Meta
that
here.
we've had the consecutive candles, right? The consecutive 15-minute candles.
Yeah,
How
it's
many?
all green.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting on both the ES and the NQ. So like, are we poised for a little bit of a pullback here going into power hour? Now we have 4 more candles to draw before the end of the day. If the rest of those 4 candles are green, then yeah, definitely some serious buying into the close today, for sure. But then I don't know. I'm just gonna react to whatever I see happening, right? Things are outlier, things are whatever. I don't understand things very well right now, but that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing here. So as I'm saying that, the candle kind of accelerating to the upside a little bit.
Would you? So obviously, if you're focused on Amazon. Is there a point on that trend line where you take an intraday reversal, or is it I'm only going in the one direction, forget about it? But if we let's imagine a scenario, because like if it could happen now, so like we're pressing to the upside. Tesla's like the longs are kind of in there. We kind of told you about them, but you're getting into the resistance level where I think I want to try a couple of shorts into this range. But if we break this out and take out the morning high, and let's just say like you're starting to get to the upside, you get through that trend to the upside. It's easy enough. You save money by getting out of a trade, but would you reverse into the long? That's my question, because I always find myself, sometimes I like it, it's obvious I'm 100% I'm reversing on this level, and other times I don't touch the reversal and I hate myself after for not doing it. What are you doing with Amazon if we do break out here and go green on the NASDAQ?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, I've done it before. I would be comfortable taking that reversal again. I would want to see that confirmation kind of happening on the tape, the change of pace on the tape, because we've been grinding, we've been kind of consolidating, kind of slow action while the futures have been kind of bidding up. So if I see that kind of ramping up on the tape, which we kind of did when I called out this shake and bake, right? I was like, oh, this might be a failure to follow through because it looks like it's going to break out. Right. So, but then look at what happened. We kind of faked out that move. You wick that top of the range, and sure, we're still well within the top. I guess, area of this wider range that's been happening, but you got that kind of wick. You saw that acceleration of action across the market. So if I see that kind of change of pace, that change of pace along with going into the level, that I'm like, okay, this is a potential over under, and I want to kind of get short. And if I don't see that change of pace, then I don't really see a reason to kind of switch, other than of course, like I don't have the best price, my risk is being tested. Things like that. But yeah, no, there's many times like I'll like, especially in the morning scalps, if and when I'm taking those morning scalps, best believe like, yeah, if I'm going long, I'm going short, just based off of the momentum on the tape, right? Because I'm like, okay, this is a quick move. I know this is probably not going to last very long, especially if it's not necessarily at a key area. So yeah, definitely going long and short in and around some of those levels. But yeah, I'd be more than willing to flip to the long side on this trade if it shows me what I need to see for that action there.
No, I didn't smell chicken just now. Fabian just walked by and I was giving him the nod. But I have 2 questions. Well, first one is, I don't know this story on. I just asked Brendan what's going on with AUR. I saw some people alerting me to the stock. Brendan doesn't see anything, but I just pulled up the daily to note that it is strong, up 7.75%. You guys can see that, but look at the 350 level here in the daily. That sticks out like a sore thumb. There's another name here, decent but not overwhelming volume. That looks pretty standard, like, the double bottom, higher low above 3, trying to take out a local high at 350. So everything about this seems pretty normal, with the exception of the amount of volume going off. It's very sporadic. So I don't know if this one is much of a trade, because I'm even looking at the tape right now. I'm just not seeing a lot of action on it currently. And if you're going to take a breakout, you want to see some action. But there was a question. I'm going to point out DraftKings, and I'm going to give this one to you because someone in the chat said, "What was the advice Sean gave to you yesterday?" I'm just going to point out. I'm going to point out that DraftKings at the double hot top. So anyone looking at DraftKings, it's at the high of the day currently. I'm not saying it's going to reverse, but it has some resistance. This was previous support just above here, and it's current resistance right now. So a false break here I would think there could be a bit of a pullback, but I got my eyes on DraftKings only if it fail breaks though. So what was this advice that you were given yesterday?
I did not forget. I was gonna mention this closer to the close, but yeah, we can talk about it right now. So before Sean went off to his vacation, so I pulled Sean aside and I was just like, Sean, I see the way you guys kind of trade on the show and how the mentality is and stuff, and I see that both of you kind of exhibit this type of mental agility, right? So I'm like, okay, how can I, as a newbie trader that's just starting off, how can I kind of work on that mental agility, right? So we had the conversation, and the conversation started going towards the point where it's like, okay, you can have that mental agility, but what might be a little more important is having the plan and actually executing the plan and getting meticulous about the plan, having if-then statements for different types of scenarios, right? And then once you have that plan, you have like your reminders right here of those key areas, those key levels as well, right? And if you see those interactions happening, you should be executing on the idea, right? So I think Sean really kind of drilled that in, and he was like, if you have good ideas, you don't necessarily, sure, you still might need to be mentally flexible, but you don't have to be as flexible if the idea is working and the idea is panning out, and you can follow those if-then statements. So it's really kind of, basically, to summarize that conversation, it was make a plan, trade the plan.
Exactly.
And be very disciplined about that, right? And you know what? I'm thankful for that talk, right? And that's kind of what I've been focusing on. As you guys know, I had an idea this morning coming in, and as well as yesterday, I had an idea coming into the day, and I kind of stuck with that idea, and I said, anything and everything that kind of negates this idea, I'm going to keep in mind, and if those factors start to confluence and stack up, I'm out of this trade, right? If there's enough reasons that are telling me, especially if there's a point in the trade where I'm like, I am definitely wrong past this point or past seeing this kind of order flow or whatever it is, whatever reasons to exit you might have.
Yep.
Right?
All you need is a reason. It's whatever it happens to be.
Have a plan, stick to the plan, execute on the plan. Then you actually have a basis of something to work on, right? It's like, if you don't have a plan and you're trying to get better, what substance do you have to work on getting better at? Right? So that's kind of the gist of the conversation we had. Shout out to Sean. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, that was a conversation that we had in the back over there.
And that's sort of the thing. Like, if you have a plan of action, everything falls in place. Also, if you don't have a plan, you can't actually track your results because there's nothing to quantify. Yeah. You know, Obi journals his trades. He was actually showing me that today, which I think he does a fantastic job at, which you have to do. But the market just put in what looks like a bit of a turn. So you'll see a couple of things have changed for me. In a second, it'll be 2, 3 things. So there's your first rejection. I was just talking about DraftKings, and as I trailed out of AMD, the market turned. I jumped on the DraftKings, pretty much right where it was, stop at the high. AMD came out. I'll start with that. Let's separate that wick. I got to zoom in. So you don't have to. That's kind of a pain in the butt. But AMD came right in, got right underneath that 107.80, right when the market was coming down. I had a trailing stop in there after we got above 108 the last time. That automatically trailed out. So that's what happens if you put a stop order. You can get a bad fill. Tesla managed to hold the range. I kind of gave it just underneath here, and it managed to hold on even on that dump. So I am still in it. But I did flip over in DraftKings when I saw the first sign of red. That was the last name that I liked. I know it's super strong, and wow, DraftKings, it goes right through the high. So that's 5 cents right there on DraftKings, pretty darn quick. But it's 5 cents worth of risk in a situation where I'm looking for the curl. The second it looks like it's going to be good, I'm going to get in right here, give it to the high of the day, and just get out. But my outs are here and here and here on the way down. Probably not a VWAP because it's way too strong for that. But I like that risk-reward setup. I was kind of geared up to take it the first second I saw it. It just so happened to be that this was a name that was at the level. Unfortunately, Microsoft, which I did like, did not give me the fill short. So when that middle market turn, I was kind of resting above 322. It does not get above 322. I might just be jumping into softy here. This is another one that I liked. I'll try to get rid of these wicks so you can see the chart better. These local highs are about 322. I think 46 or 47 is the high up here. And then the lower highs are at about the quarter. So that's the range that I want to be getting in front of here for Microsoft, because the market's finally starting to come back in, and I do like softy here. So I'll try to clean up those wicks, and don't leave it on me live, because every single time I clean up this candle wick with the data editor, while it's on here, you're going to see it crash. So I feel like that's the jinx, and then if I clean it when it's not, there's no pressure on the chart, then it's fine. Which of course means it's going to crash right now.
Yeah, whenever those charts kind of crash, you can almost tell, right? You can almost tell. It's funny. Yeah, no. Using the intrinsic P-Pro functions as indicators, is that the meta?
The intrinsic?
Sometimes when a lot of volume kind of comes in.
Intrinsic? I don't think I've ever heard intrinsic on this show.
Okay, right. New words, but
it's word of the day now.
Word of the day, yeah. So there's a little bit of intrinsic factors and extrinsic factors, right? So so internally, the P-Pro sometimes does a bit of a lag or whatever. Sometimes, but yeah, that can be an indicator, and I think multiple times I've had some other programs start to slow down. P-Pro is fine, but other programs start to the screen recorder might get a little fugazi when that volume comes in, and I'm like, oh, that might be an indicator right there. So I always find that a little funny there.
You don't know how lucky you are.
Gotta use everything that you have. Gotta use everything, even though some people might see it as a nuisance, see it as like an obstruction. No, you pick up on the pattern, you might be able to utilize that. I don't know.
I'll tell you this much: back when I started out and was a trainee, we were recording your screen to go and look at your trades and whatnot. Let's just say the software wasn't nearly as good for screen recording. It was trash. It would crash the computers all the time, and you never wanted you couldn't record the whole day. You had to be real specific. What's the time of day that I want to make sure that I actually get this in? It's so much better now. I actually think if you're a scalp trader or somebody, if you're trading a breakout or a scalp where you're in and out a lot, recording the screen so that you can actually see the tape and go back. I don't know why I have this on the CL contract. If you're trading, I happen to be in Microsoft right now, so that's what I'm gonna pull up. But if you're watching it at a key level, just have an idea, what's the size doing, what are the prints doing, so that you can go back and things that you might have missed as you were at an inflection point or a decision point, you can then say, hey, wait a minute, maybe that was a bad entry point. Just there, it dumps back down, it gives a flush up. I decide that instead of giving the overfills at 22, I like the way that it rejected the 22 level. I'm going to jump the short underneath because I like the way that it rejected there. So instead of waiting for these fills, let's grab it here. The market looked like a turn. Suddenly I think 22 is the resistance, not the top. But let's just say this trade loses. If I recorded it, maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something about the way that it was trading up here that could have told me that I shouldn't have jumped to short the lower high. For now, it is in the money and the market wants to pull back in. That's good for you because you're only short. Tesla, that still has to resolve itself. What the heck happened to that chart? Okay, never mind. And as you say it, now all of a sudden the chart gets worse. Thanks. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But Tesla, we did have this long at 43. It got to the high of the day. We're right back. I'm going to stop out if it gets under here. And it's a hard stop, so if it creeps underneath that A level, I am jumping out of that Tesla trade. Microsoft hopefully will resolve itself to the downside. If one doesn't work, the idea is that the other one should work. So here's Tesla. Not sure it's going to hold on. I did like this one for the long trade, but if it ticks another couple of shekels lower, I will be, and never mind. And we're out of Tesla.
Yeah, that market's coming down hot.
I'll just show you that's a black chart. It's kind of frustrating. You guys saw the execution, but it did just break here, so I'm out of Tesla. Microsoft is now working to the downside, and when you get to a resistance level in the market, if it busts out, I usually want to have something that if you take out the top, I got a runner and I can add to it, or I can trend trade it all afternoon. And if it doesn't go, I'm generally thinking of a different name for the short. I usually like something long if we continue to trend in the afternoon, and then I like a specific stock or two short, so I just grab some Microsoft out, and here comes Amazon.
That is some interesting tape right there. I don't know what I saw, but that was super bearish. that quick flash of, I think it was deep reds that came in. That was very unusual, kind of coming in with that 5100 crack. Maybe a little too hard, too fast, but like, yeah, we're accelerating to the downside here. And finally, that selling kind of coming in. We tried to get past that 139, couldn't really get there. Tried a few times, decent tape there, kind of crushed it each time. But yeah, let's see what we do with this 138, this range low here at that 138.20. It's come here to this price multiple times today and even kind of consolidated below. So I'm right now with this type of acceleration. Look at Apple break that 178. Damn. Okay, so 138, I'm looking at this consolidation low that we had. This is the first consolidation of the day that was kind of real. Sideways for almost an hour. If we break this price right here, I think the Quadunk is definitely going to continue to the downside. But yeah, no, definitely a little bit hard move down on the futures here. As we were talking about, we got so many candles, green candles back to back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the beginning of this candle, how much time is left to finish printing this? 4 minutes left to finish printing this candle. You kind of wipe the past 4 candles to the upside. That is that's very strong selling. Again, Friday going into the last hour of the day. Things might get a little spicy. Things might get a little interesting, and we might get some real follow through on the bigger picture move that would print the end of the week the way we've been setting up here.
Well, speaking of setting up, that's now a bigger extension on that pullback. So Microsoft, I like. The other name that we tried for the 5-cent hit, I'm going to go for it again on that weakness. It's more of a risk to reward style play the second time through. If I get wicked out, usually it means that you run a stop at the high of the day, obviously mine, but I would like to think that other stops got run as well on that DraftKings high of the day. And if profit taking comes into this name, I think the risk to reward does favor the shot to the downside. I won't get too greedy. I don't think you get greedy when something is trend up the way that this is. So let's see what happens. But I'm back in DraftKings. Microsoft is working to the downside. Yeah, 237, MIMO. Mimo.
Mimo?
So, you know what? I heard about this morning, this MIMO. It's not really doing much now, but definitely a missed opportunity. And I think this was on low volume, kind of weird, but the 25 level was oddly a very big missed opportunity on this. If you look at where this is coming from, there's 15 cents at the bottom, and then there's a channel breakout at 20. Kind of gets to the 30 level, and you know, if every 5 cents is a big deal, sometimes the penny stock is not that complicated. So you can kind of see it slow down here at the 30 level originally. Then it dips back in. When it holds 25 cents, like it wicks under 25, goes half a cent, and then right back, trending back into the upside. It's not that crazy every now and then, because I used to do this when I traded penny stocks back in the day much more heavily. Like if I saw that at any even 5 cent level on a running stock, I would just take the shot. Like I'd just be long at 25.2 or 25.5 and just looking for it to get back to the high. If it goes to VWAP, you're laughing in that situation. Like your low is like 1 cent, right? So you're risking 1 cent, VWAP is 3, and the high of the day is 11. It's not, and sometimes it's just as simple as a 25 cent level, and that's what happened on Mimo. I don't see a trade right now unless you do a very similar thing at 30. But the problem with this would be why I wouldn't do that trade now is because this is what the level 2 looks like. So I don't know what it looked like at 25. Liquidity always matters as well. So the 30 level to play a bounce here, I'm not really seeing any, like nobody's very interested in bidding this stock. 89 million shares, and this is what the bid looks like at what could theoretically be a support level. 5,000, 6,000 at 30 and 31. That's pretty much nothing. Makes it for me a nothing burger trade. So I wouldn't be in it right now, but I do like the setup. Hopefully that 25 was any good. That AUR that we're tracking, it is trying to take out the top on volume. So it did eventually start going. Wow, that's a decent volume spike, but every time it spikes, there's no continuation. I want to see it show volume on a continuation, and then I want to get involved in this because every single volume spike is followed by literally nothing right after on AUR.
Yeah, I'm just reading through the chat here. Chat's got a lot of jokes here. I think some of these are pretty funny. We were talking about they said ambidextrous, being able to make a plan both long and short and stick to it. No, I think that's called mental agility. There, something I got to work on. Definitely not there. On the first date, apparently I say I'll have the fugazi. I thought that was pretty funny as well.
I like that one.
Some comedians in the chat. I like it. Send me more of your jokes. I'm more than willing to laugh some more. We only have about 45 minutes here left on the day here. But yeah, give me some of your best jokes here, because those are pretty funny there. But yeah, some hard selling came into the bottom of that range on Amazon, and we kind of clipped that 138 and then rebid extremely fast. So gonna see if there's any sort of continuation here on the futures. We kind of are holding in and around this 5100. So I think this may or may not be somewhat of a decisive point. Whether we close the day in and around 15100. We know that 15175 was a key level, and that's high a day, and we couldn't really get back. Like, we slowly tried to grind up back towards the morning highs, but like, look at what just happened. We sell off very vigorously kind of into the start of the hour. The first 15-minute candle of the final hour on the day sells off pretty hard, and Amazon kind of does this. So let's see if we kind of stay weak here, and if we can convincingly break. This wick is a little interesting here. Maybe a little bit of reason to buy some of it, but yeah, no, bigger picture still very much intact there. As we are kind of trading below VWAP now, we kind of crushed VWAP. So a lot of these longs, a lot of good chunk of these longs from the morning session are definitely a little bit underwater here. So yeah, kind of see if we kind of print. Again, we said there's 4 more candles left to print until 4 p.m. And one of those candles, straight quadrunc to the downside, maybe a little bit of relief here in and around that 15.1, a bit of consolidation. And let's see if we can kind of close in and around the bottom of the range here, which is that 1560. And we said that last month's low was 1563, right? And what did we say about some of the best prices? So I'm thinking to myself right now, what's the probability of that level kind of getting smashed either after hours today, maybe over the weekend, or maybe even pre-market Monday? I don't know.
So here's all I'm saying is this. If you were watching this morning, OB gave a level in the futures, and I said it's going on the chart. Because I always do this. I did this to Rune. I would do it consistently to him. If you say a key level, because I want to see it too, right? Like I use this for the bottom myself. Like I was covering, we got down there, I'm like, oh, I'm taking profit on SMCI when we get down to that support level, because that's where the future is supposed to bounce according to OB. Now the thing about trading the
according to the chart, it is a level of interest. I know nothing. The chart speaks volumes.
You didn't hear me say anything about that support level. You said the support level, right? So therefore you made but it's a good call. It was the bottom today. Like, it's all good. It was literally the bottom today. So it's not on the futures. You're never gonna have a key price level be the exact wick, but this is exactly the level that OB is talking about. You tried to resolve under it once, and look at this. Like each time, this is a 60-minute chart. Each hour, go into that red, come out of it green. Hit the top, go into it red, kind of wick it there, hold it red, come out of it green. So you're seeing some strength off of that level, and I don't know if we get back there today. Speaking of things that are weak, however, NVIDIA, so the market is made an attempt to bounce, right, and then pulled back. NVIDIA, not much of a bounce, actually making some lower highs here. This is still looking super, super weak here on NVIDIA. This is very choppy for $400 stock. Again, if you're scalping NVIDIA for 50-cent moves, the spread can be 15 to 20 cents, which makes that kind of nonsensical. So it's trading in a range that I just can't wrap my head around it, because it would have to be a short up here to be able to give it to 412 and then have a move to be able to capture. So as we head back to the top, which we could be doing right now, I know because DraftKings right back at the high of the day, which I will always stop out at the top. The NASDAQ gets to the high, I got to start thinking about this VWAP area, or 411, more importantly, 411 into 412 on NVIDIA for a short to pop situation. I know I like Microsoft, but NVIDIA is much weaker than Microsoft today. So despite the fact that I did get rid of these candles and now they're just back, so I'll just zoom in so you can see it better. So if we come back to this, I want to see us hold underneath 3022. I want to see some semblance of a lower high. Then I can think about getting back into this and play it down into VWAP. Otherwise, don't fight it too much. What's Tesla doing? Tesla, it did end up breaking down past 43. No push to VWAP there. Kind of just hanging out, diddling in the middle, which I hate diddling in the middle like that. So don't like the Tesla entry. I am still in Mullen, but again, if it breaks $1, that's a pretty easy story there. Short at 99s. You guys can probably figure out what I want to do with that one. Oh, and there was a huge opportunity, and I gotta talk about this one from yesterday because this was a huge missed chance. Like as far as I'm concerned, we're talking about this with the floor manager. There are some trades that just kind of, for a day trader, it gets pretty simple. Being deleted from an index. I don't know when this stock is coming off the market, but it was being deleted from one of the indexes, so therefore was a big delete at the close, and you saw the 7 million sell imbalance. Well, it was a short pretty much all day long, and then short the pops in the afternoon, and then when the imbalances came out here, it then flushed again going into the close. So we were short it like here, 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 there, and again there, all day long, like as many times as I could. The reverse of that is once the event happens and it prints to the downside, what happens after that? So if this is at 9 cents, when the imbalance drops, and it drops from 9 to 7 cents here, so a pretty decent drop, and then the next day it opens up holding above that price where it did the sell-off of the imbalance, puts in a higher low, then look at the dip. So in the pre-market, it holds that 9 cent area and above it at 10 cents, is running in the pre-market, it dips, doesn't get back to 9, right to 10, and look at it bounce off 10 cents and rally. Double up. So this gave you yesterday multiple chances to have a 50% win downside shorting it. And then today, when it holds above that afternoon support that you were trading off of, it breaks out and gives a double up. So that was a huge missed opportunity. The next time there's a gigantic like sell-off and balance style trade, that you have a big reaction to the stock, and to better yet, look where it's coming from too, like it was down multiple days in a row. That kind of a relief bounce after you have it come out of the index, it's just there for you. Whether it has a short float or not, short float's going to help in that situation. Obviously, it's just one of those situations where I was looking at other things in the morning, but wow, anytime you see a double up, I don't care what kind of a trader you are, if it doesn't get you excited, or make me regret that I didn't have it, then I don't know what business you should be in, because like 10 cents to 20, and that only took 1 hour.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way.
Wild.
Apple's not going from 100 to 200 in an hour.
It's very rare like something like that happens in the markets, and sure, you might see that with some of those small cap squeezers, maybe some liquidity traps or whatever, but yeah, that move was definitely something. And
623 million shares of volume today. Right? So
Yeah.
it's basically, you can always say, yeah, but you can take more shares and this and that. That's not true in a situation like this. It is absolutely perfectly scalable because it's doing 600 million shares today on this stock. So whatever your risk tolerance is, whatever your buying power is, you're able to put on whatever trade you want and scale it. So this is legitimately 10 cents to 20 cents, and take advantage of it if you can, because like I said, it's infinitely scalable in a situation like this. And we knew it was in play after yesterday. Sat in this trade all day long yesterday to have my best stock to not even look at it today, right? So regardless of how my day goes today, I focused on SMCI. It ends up being good, but this would have been better. There's no questions about it. Like, this would have been a better trade than SMCI, despite the fact that SMCI top to bottom was a $10 move. This still would have been a better stock for me to have traded, but again, I missed the opportunity because you pick and choose, focus on something, and if you pick wrong, you live with it and try to learn from it. DraftKings ran the high but didn't break it, so I'm still in it. Thank you, DraftKings, for not stopping me out. I do like it. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's probably going to anyways now that I've talked about it. But
Yeah,
still in
it's
DraftKings, still in Microsoft short, Mullen, whatever. It's at 98 cents, I have 99.
That's a funny occurrence. Like, you talk about something or like a level or whatever, and then as you're talking about it, that kind of thing kind of happens. Almost like it's almost like you're speaking it into existence.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Amazon down to 130. Okay, never mind. People in the chat talking about Tupperware here. Yeah, Tupperware is a name, again, I have not heard in a long time. Did I do it better that time?
You did.
A little bit better that time.
I kind of feel like we've been talking about Tupperware a lot, though.
Have
lately,
we?
right?
Yeah. Okay. I just saw it fresh. A bunch of people said it in the chat. Again, I'm looking for backside on this. Nothing yet here. Nothing yet here. Very similar to kind of like that, like the same thing with the Carvana type of thing, right? We tried to get past 5, can't really go there, but here, this is a kind of shelf that's holding above the $3 level. So I think that's a decent look there, in and around that $3. Let's see what we do there going forward in the coming weeks. They just had earnings. No, they have earnings today, after hours, actually. Interesting.
Oh, Tupperware's after hours tonight.
Yeah.
You know what's actually, when Tupperware started to get into trouble, I was like, man, this is a perfect example of a company where like you use their product, and you're like, yeah, I've been using it forever, and you just don't realize that like the actual company could be in trouble because it's just the product's there and everyone uses it, so they've got to be fine. You don't think about it. But then my wife was pointing out to me, and she's dead right about this, when it comes to Tupperware, that we've been buying Rubbermaid stuff. And we've been buying Rubbermaid for a while. And I was looking at like all of the new, and I call it Tupperware because that's I think of Tupperware when you use I don't know I just call it Tupperware. I don't know what you're supposed to call it, plastic containers. And like the ones for
it's like Kleenex.
It's like Kleenex.
Yeah.
But we've been buying Rubbermaid for years, and I just kind of always thought we were using Tupperware. So no wonder Tupperware is in trouble. Like I bet you a bunch of you guys have been using Rubbermaid as well instead of Tupperware. Now, all that said, it is a squeeze play because it's in trouble. What I want to see out of this name, I think it's pretty obvious next week. So this is what's happened since it started this squeeze, is you've gotten up to $6, double top at 6. The last pullback bounced at 313. Today, you bounced pretty much off the same level. So you hold this today, you come in next week, and if it doesn't gap down below, the long's off 3 for the squeeze. And do I think it goes back to 6? Nope. I generally always expect a bounce like this not to get to where everyone wants it to get to because there's more people involved the second time through. So I'm more thinking like $4.50, $5. But if we hold on to 3 today, which is an if because the day's not over, and if we hold on to it over the weekend and the pre-market, then I kind of look at the long above that $3 level. Next week is setting up for a potential squeeze on Tupperware. 31% short float. That's the number you need to know. That's the number that matters when you're trading things like this. So as we get back to the high in the market, that is going to mean back on over to Softy. My 15-minute chart never fails me. Like I'll pull up that in the afternoon show. I'll pull up my 3-minute. Sometimes there's some gaps in it or whatever. You guys see sometimes the issues. My 15-minute is rock steady where it can look at the levels. So I want to reload this at the even on Microsoft. It is getting up there. Give me patience. I'll actually sit above. Give me the overfill here on Softy, and we'll sit up top to try and grab this short back in again. I don't think I reload DraftKings. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And ice cold Killex. AMD has Confluence.
Confluence with what?
I was about to say the same thing. I trailed out of AMD. Good decision. Well, it looks like it was a good decision. A lot of times you get fortunate with that. Like you've seen when you're trailing out, it's a winning trade because you're trailing out when you're in the money. That said, I always feel as if my trail outs, I look back on them, it's like, ooh, that would have been a place that you could have held on just a little bit longer. But it was a good spot, that 108 level. Again, another wick there, but it does pull back. It's not really getting back into that high. It needs to take out the top. We're going to get the early look on the imbalances in about 2 minutes. We'll give that to you guys live. And if it is to the buy side, I could see myself, if the market gets that top, just quickly being able to stop out at the local highs, limit the hit there, but I am shorting off this resistance in the futures. It's already worked once. The question is, can it work a second time?
Yeah, a little bit of a range bound here, right? Range bound as well. We talked about that hard candle, and then we kind of retrace pretty much all of it. Well, I'd say a good amount, like 90%-ish, 80 to 90% of that selling kind of rebids right away. But I do want to check how much is, okay, so we got about a minute left 50 seconds left for this 15-minute to print here to close. So yeah, if we we're definitely going to be closing above that 15.1. So let's see if we kind of get back into that 15.1. This selling was that just, you know, was that just a group of sellers that just they're done selling now, and we kind of go back to the upside, or is there more continuation of that selling? We know that there's kind of a bigger picture sell-off kind of happening. Are we going to get that kind of continuation into the close today, or do we make that kind of like wick bottom on the weekly? You know,
what was the question?
Do we make a wick bottom on the weekly? I think we might.
That's too ambiguous.
Yeah, that is. Okay, how about this? 15,100 over or under. Do we close over 15,100? How about that? That's a little more specific question.
You read it.
Only if Apple is negative. That makes so much sense. The wisdom. If Apple is negative, of course we're gonna. I mean, if it's more negative than now, yeah, we have a high probability of closing beneath that 15.1. But
what's amazing about that is I think that's maybe the first time we've asked the 8-ball something, and that answer
very logical.
That is a very logical answer. Apple closed at 177.73. Apple drops ball. 40 cents, and it breaks. Oh, this wick is really annoying because it makes it hard to make the point here. But if it breaks VWAP, essentially, if Apple gets underneath VWAP, that would be it getting red. So if it closes under VWAP, do we get underneath 15.1? Like, obviously, like, duh, it's ridiculous. Like, that is dead on by the 8-ball, which never happens. Comp SRX, baseball glove question. You want to ask me a question about baseball gloves? If you do, you can just shout it out. I have no issues. I used to play, I played baseball in the men's league for a very long time. So I'm a big baseball guy, big fan. Go to all the Jays games, all that stuff. So I love my baseball. If you have a question about a glove, sure. I don't know any baseball glove questions. If you're randomly asking me that, that's kind of a weird thing there. Thomas Roberts, AMRS on Monday. The setup was the delete from the index yesterday, and then the kind of reversal bounce play today, which, like I said, I didn't have it. I wish I did, but I don't really have a plan for this on Monday because I don't have a catalyst for it. If there's a penny stock, the penny stocks that I'm looking for next week are TTOO. Maybe it gets to that 45 and eventually breaks out. You know, shout out Havana Woody, who I was looking at this stock and done pretty well with it. And then WeWork, right? So WeWork, good volume today. I kind of had one good short and one bad one on WeWork. I thought this was really going to follow through, but this is another name that if we can get, I say we, but I really mean the stock. Like if it can hold on here, it's going to close above, well, it's trying to close above 20. That's step one. But if it can make another, bounce above 25 and then get this double top at 32, it could really go again. And you just have to think about where this is coming from, and all the worst just happened, and it just bounced off the bottom, and you had the first pullback today off that bottom bounce. If the response to this is to kind of consolidate, hold 20, and then break out this 32 level, that's a squeeze. So I like that 32 break. It has to happen. But I will be looking for a 32 break next week, and I'm not the only person. I'm not going to name any names, but there's at least a couple of other traders on the floor that think that can be a decent squeeze. Momentum style play. I'm not here to say anything great about WeWork. As a matter of fact, I'm not even making this up. I was out to dinner with my wife on Wednesday, and the table next to us was talking about how terrible WeWork is as a company and how they're losing all kinds of money. Again, you couldn't make this, the whole time we're sitting there.
When you start hearing stuff like that outdoors, oh man.
That was the day, like that. I was literally short the high of the day on that stock and shorted it like 5 times. And I told my wife about it. And then we're sitting at dinner, we're sitting next to a set of couples, and they're talking about the company being garbage. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. I should say something. But I don't have supersonic hearing. They were like as close to Obi as I am. Like we're at a table, and like some restaurants it's like that, right? Like it was one of those where you can it's kind of anyways, Richmond Station is the name of the place. It's a great spot, but they have like a chef's table where you can overlook the kitchen, and if you don't want to sit at the chef's table and you're right next to it, then it's kind of bunched in that area, which is really cool because you're close to the kitchen to be able to see it. But anyways, I just thought that was kind of cool. It's not every now and then that you hear something like that. And the early look on the imbalances, 238 million to sell. So not a buy, if you're short, you like that. But not a big one, not a gigantic one at all. What's the best method to break in a glove, Comp SRX says? The old tried and true, a lot of people like to, just find a ball to like ball up and kind of tie a ball around it so that you have like that right feel. You can hold that for a while and maybe sit on, do that and put it in a couch and then sit on it, or just leave it under something, put some weights on the couch. Some people like to run it over with a car. I've never done that method before, but I know a few people that have done that. I also find that if it's not for yourself, if it's for a kid, just buy a used glove. Like that is, you want to, if you're just getting a glove for your kid, buy a used glove, because it's going to already be worked in. You don't have to worry about it, because I think little kids struggle big time with gloves that are too tight, and then you're spending all your time, whether you want to wax or do this or whatever, just buy it used. Yeah, they're going to grow out of it anyways. And you worry about working in your glove when you play a lot. Like when I was in men's league, I had 2 gloves. The glove I've been using for years, and then I'd have a new glove that I'm working in, and I'd spend an entire year working in the new glove, and I don't even use it till the next year. And you're not going to want to waste your time doing that with your kid, I would assume. So, there's lots of ones you can do. I see SP Trader use a lotion and tie around a ball. I like to tie around a ball, slam against concrete till it gets soft. That works. Run it over with a car. That works. There's lots of things you can do.
How long you been playing ball?
I had to give it up because of my back, but I ran track in high school, played 1 year. It's a long story. I played 1 year of high school baseball, and shout out to a buddy of mine who bribed me into playing my senior year, and then I hurt myself and kind of ruined my track season playing 2 sports. But then after I graduated university, I started playing men's league and played till I was like 37 years old. So a few years back, I had to give it up because I have a back issue, which literally my back problem is when I twist. So I cannot golf and I cannot swing. And I did not know what was wrong with me until it got diagnosed. And then it made all the sense in the world why by the time I got to the end of the game, I could barely move. And every day, because we played on Sundays, I'd wake up on Monday morning and I couldn't tie my shoes. And it was always after I played baseball. If I had a weekday game, I'd wake up the next day and I couldn't tie my shoes. And every successive at-bat, it would just get worse and worse. Each swing was pile-on, so I can't golf. It really sucks. Being old is not a lot of fun. But I feel like whatever, I'm not going to dwell on it. Let's go back to the market for a second, because it sucks, man. I love baseball. I would love to keep playing. DraftKings won't fall. I don't want you to fall 5 cents. I want you to fall 15, then 20, then 25. That's what I'm looking for. It is a sell imbalance. Do have the curl, so I want to let this one work. Microsoft is working in the money. It didn't get that reload because it didn't go far enough up, which can be a good thing. And I'm looking for DraftKings to fall. I know you want Amazon to get to that downside. So let's just see what happens here. Rivian making a move. Didn't look at Rivian here this afternoon. I know it's got smoked. Feel a gap on my 3-minute chart again. But Rivian smoked, but almost going green here. Not a bad sign. This is a name in need of a bounce or a hold. That 21.5, it held on to it all afternoon. That's not a bad scalp trade in there, that 21.5. I think we mentioned that. Yesterday's low. How many times is it going to dip? Give you 15, 20 cents. Now it's starting to break back out. Shout out if you got that one. I think that's a fantastic one. And Zach, what do I think about Lyft? We didn't go over this because I stopped. This was like a one-shot deal, the breakout today on Lyft. Oh, I'm still bidding this. Whoops. So, okay, obviously I missed this dip buy on Lyft because I just canceled that order. I just left it in there thinking I'd possibly pick it back up. We had the breakout over 11. It got to 11.50. I held some for the dream. Did not get the dream. Trailed it out. So I hold on to cash. But it did wick underneath 11 and then break back out. So I could have gotten back into this. I did not want to chase it at all. Didn't think we'd get back to the high. Was probably too bearish in the market at that point. But what I think about this is you're now back above the 200 period moving average. I said this was like a false breakdown at 11. And then once you get above, look long until proven otherwise. So I kind of like the 11. I like the long off the 11 area until I have a reason not to. And I've not seen a reason not to yet. So I will come in tomorrow thinking about a long anywhere off 11. Maybe I'm talking. There goes Mullen. Mullen just came out finally. So at the 99 short, that just broke out. So I'll be out of that one. I'm going to like this at 11.20. I'm going to like it at 11 even. I'm going to consider a double top break at the high of the day, which I don't think I want now. but that's this level here, 1150, looks like a solid breakout for next week. I love all of that because to me, you just made a huge bottom, hold a double bottom, hold a breakout. Now you're taking levels out to the upside. You're above a major moving average. Everything about that looks really good for a long next week on Lyft.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even see that Lyft got all the way back. That's a pretty crazy move. Are we also looking at Uber along with Lyft? Yeah, we can take a quick look at that as well. Looking very distinctly different from Lyft here as Uber kind of bids down, and I'm looking at Neil's screen here. Lyft bidding up. Now, Lyft did have earnings, right?
Yeah.
Lyft did have earnings recently, so we're not really seeing too much of a sympathy. Maybe even like an inverse type of move here, maybe more along the lines of the market there. But yeah, we are getting a little bit of a flush. We got what? How much? 10, 11 more minutes till the imbalances kind of come out. Yeah, so decent there. I think somebody in the chat was talking about Tesla reversal, question mark. Yeah, no, Tesla kind of came into that yesterday's resistance. We know we had a crazy kind of move yesterday, push up into that 250. Can't really get too far past that 250, only about 2 points on a $250 ticker, and then you flush all the way back down for a 10-point move underneath that 250. So yeah, definitely some continuation a little bit. Consolidation can't really get back above previous day's low, and then we're seeing that kind of sell off as well. But duly noted that there is a bit of an uptrend here on the intraday, kind of consolidating into that resistance from before, and then we kind of come back in to the downside as the market looking like it is doing some more quadungs.
So, and I appreciate the kind words in the chat about the back. What I have, it's like a, I can rest up, I can do everything I want. It's an actual condition.
You're still staying active.
Oh, I'm in every other way. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. But it's called.
Do you stretch, physiotherapy?
I do like mobility work every single day. I roll every single day. I work out 3 or 4 times a week. I cannot do Russian twists. I can do pretty much everything else. I just can't do the twisting motion. It's called facet syndrome. It's like an arthritis in the spine, so it's not going away. I can manage the position and I can avoid things that flare it up.
Right.
And that's sort of it. And it's fine. Like, trust me, like everybody in the world has something. Like, you don't stay 100% healthy as you get older. You just kind of work around everything.
Oh, trust me, I'm feeling it. I don't have as serious of a back pain, but like I get like hunching over for the past few years. I'm starting to feel that kind of like neck going forward. That's I need to do some of those stretches as well, upper back as well. Not hunched over a desk. That's why I've started taking a lot more walks.
Now you're making me like do this.
Right? A lot more walks. Like if I like the position I'm in, I'm gonna get up, go for a walk, stretch it out. I don't want to be sitting for long periods of time, because when I do find myself, if I'm staring at a position, sure, I can be in it all day, but if I'm hunched over it, watching every single tick all day, I'm definitely getting like a sore back the next day. Like it's tough, and that can carry over into your trading, right? Back problems, like upper back, especially upper back pain, is one of the leading causes for like I guess just like how do I want to say it, like being like a little disgruntled, like you're not decision making properly, right? Your decision making is affected. Your mind is not. 100% of your mental capital is not there.
You don't know how gold this is what you're saying right
Part of it is being spent on like stress on the back and stuff like that. And I feel that happening on days where I'm like, damn, I didn't do stretches, I didn't roll out my back. You know what I mean? I didn't get a massage or whatever. Coming in trading, you will see that effect on your trading for sure. And that's kind of what I've observed with my stats. And it's like, yeah. This
is wisdom. So I will, again, I never name names when I tell stories about traders I've seen on the floor. But to this point, I can tell you right now that I know of at least one trader, possibly two, that when they were in that like hunch mode and you can see they're like fidgeting, and that is when if they're revenge trading, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can see the tension. And I know a couple, it's like you could always tell when they were revenge trading because they get really, really antsy, really, really irritable, and then they get tight in the back and all stuff. And you'd sit on the bridge and you would see it, and it was just absolutely nuts. I won't name any names, but like that tension.
and I'm really in a bad position, I've started to pick up on certain like physical actions that I might be doing. So I want to stop those dominoes
Yes.
from falling further. So if I'm ever hunched over like this in a position, the probability of me being in a bad position is extremely high. So if I catch myself doing that, I've started to be like, okay, either punch out or like go for a walk, reassess, get your stop in, like whatever. You're in a bad position, get out of it, reassess. So I don't know.
The bigger the moment, the cooler you want to be, right? Like that's in sports, that's in trading. That's my philosophy. Like the more pressure the situation is, the decision-making point, then the less I want to be like physically stressed about it because I want to be mentally strong. Appreciate the super chat. Sebastian, acupuncture will 100% help. Healed my torn ankle. I've tried it before. Did it in university a little bit. Again, I appreciate it. I wish I could tell you that it helped. Ice water in the veins, Mr. Duckets just says. You know what? If you can be that person with the ice water in the veins, fantastic. We are all different. And I can tell you, like, it's something you have to just be yourself in the trade. Like, if you find that you are not that person, then you find ways to not revenge trade, find ways to work against your weaknesses or fix your weaknesses to the best of your abilities. But not everybody is Kobe Bryant. I won't pretend to be Kobe Bryant. Like, it's just that whole, like, that next level, which you'd love to be that when you're making decisions. Not everybody's going to be that person. So you find ways to sort of not fix your problem, but limit the amount of damage that your own tendencies are likely to cause, right? Yeah, so definitely. I find that that's an easy one to do. I never try to double, triple down on the same level that doesn't work 3 times in a row. That's an easy one to follow when I'm counter trend trading, because usually that ends up in bad things. I know when it does. But as we get to 345 here, I'm kind of facing this double bottom on Microsoft where I need to tighten the stop up here. So I need to trail this out. If it cannot, either we get down to VWAP and we get the buck here, or maybe even more than that, or we got to trail this one out. DraftKings is very slowly working. I still think this one, if the market wants to continue falling, I can see no reason why after the strong day that it's had that there wouldn't be profit taking at the end of the week. It's a Friday, so I'd expect at 29 there's possibly a bid down there. I should, maybe get another bid down there in front of 29 even. So I'm still looking for the rollover on DraftKings. I like it. Apple fritters cure everything. I see it in the chat. I wish that was true. If apple fritters cured everything, I'd be freaking invincible, okay? Like, I would never die. You guys, like, everyone would have to live with me, like, yelling and screaming and talking nonsense for the rest of all of your lives, because I'll live 1,000 years. Because I'll eat an apple fritter every chance I get. You give me an apple fritter, I'm eating it. I'd never say no to them. This is actually true. I thought about this the other day. I don't think I'll maybe refuse a second or a third one, but I have never once in my entire life turned down an apple fritter. If someone puts it in front of me, I am actually eating it.
Okay,
and I say
I'll remember that. That might be an interesting tidbit to remember going forward. Okay.
And it's kind of a problem, because they're really not that good for you, but they're really freaking delicious. What else we got here? What's going on? Unity short. Unity. I haven't looked at that stock in a while. That was the Tony special. We love Tony. He was
we missed
good
that
peeps.
guy.
Oh, Unity was a great short earlier. That's apple pie, Ramin. I see what you're trying to do wrong. Here. It's an empty box. Yo, first of all,
Ramin's got some jokes.
You don't first it was not an apple fritter, but like you don't put an empty box of apple, because I looked at apple pie, I'm like, why not? But it was empty. Offer me an empty apple pie. Unity is a weak stock. That's what I was going to spit out there. This is a nice downward trend. This is the kind of situation where if you've been trading this one, it's a short till it's not. Just like Lyft, it's a long until it breaks back underneath the 200 period moving average. It's a long till it gets underneath $11. This is a short until proven otherwise. Maybe 36 is a bottom. Maybe it finds a bottom at 34. But it's been a short off the high. It's been a short since it broke the 50 period. It is just trending down. And that's what it's all about here. Come on, DraftKings. Do something. We got imbalances in 2 minutes, so it is definitely going to be a situation where I'm trailing these out. I'm going to cancel stops on some stocks that are not going to get there. So cancel WeWork. I'm not going to get filled on that one. It's not going to happen. AMC, I don't have to worry about that getting through 550, I don't think. I just saw this in the chat. Hey, Neil, I'll have a poker night, and I'll make sure there's a plate of apple fritters. then you won't concentrate on your hands. Oh, that's where you're wrong about that. That's where you're dead wrong. I love to snack while I'm playing poker. That's not going to make me worse. That's just going to make me better. So you have a poker night, I'm taking your money. And your apple fritters. That's what's up. Although we don't actually gamble because, of course, everything's for fake money. Right, people? Fake money. Because I don't think you're actually, I'm pretty sure, like, you're actually not supposed to show gambling like, online. So if I say, I bet you a quarter, there isn't an actual quarter here. We're just sort of saying.
Right. Yeah. Right, that makes sense. Yeah, imbalance is coming up very, very soon. I'm starting to piece off a little bit of that position here from before. Pieced off of it, like it didn't kind of clocked out of the move there. Now I still want to hold a little bit of it into the imbalance, right? Because again, early look, we saw that it was a little bit of a sell imbalance, so I'll be watching that imbalance coming in. And yeah, let's we have kind of what do you call it? Pieced off a decent part of that position to see what this imbalance may bring us in, what do we got, in about a minute. So
in about 5 seconds.
5 seconds, okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to get it live for you guys. Just as they roll in, what do we have? BMY, Bristol Myers. Alphabet, 750,000 sell. Looks like it's probably to the sell side. PTRA again. Ooh, I might have missed something on that. That's the other penny stock that we're short into a delete. So I just need to pull that up to make sure I didn't miss something. Intel, 1.1 million to sell. Kenvue again with an imbalance at 500,000. Neo, 500,000. It looks like it's going to be to the sell side pretty big, but Microsoft's a sell. That should be good. 1.6 billion to sell, so it's all sell side. I'm in softy, so I like it. Apple is a buy at 300,000, but that's pretty much it. Everything else to the sell side. Neo, a notable name there for $500,000, like I said, but that PTRA. Oh, did I miss another index imbalance on this penny stock? This is the other one I had short. It wasn't nearly as good as the I mean, it was good, but that AMRS was much, much better of a short. But this was the other penny stock getting deleted, and it looks like it had another one. Ooh, I should have been back on this. Darn it. If this one was another delete 2 days in a row, yeah, that's kind of free money. Delete yesterday, 15 to 10, possibly today, 15 to 12. If you don't like 25%, then I guess that's not really for you. But we are sell side imbalances. That means we should have a shot to get VWAP here and let it ride on Microsoft. Always have to zoom back in to get rid of those wicks. Keep on moving the trail. I like us breaking VWAP here at least till 355. At 355, there's a major pairing event. The imbalances come out at 50. A lot of them get paired off, so those sell imbalances, however big they are, they're likely to go down sizably by the time you get to 355 or exactly at 355. So I'm going to want to make sure I don't get trapped on a bounce here at the 55 level. DraftKings, on the other hand, I mean, I hate you, DraftKings. You're too strong. You're too strong. It spiked up. I didn't see a buy and bounce on it, but it did go up at 350, which usually means you want to get out of Dodge. So I'm going to take the opportunity to get out for a 4-cent hit on DraftKings, because if you spike at 350 against me, I'm going to take the advantage of the fact that it just came back in and gave me a chance to take a small hit there. I didn't see it on the imbalances, but when it spikes like that, I don't like it. It's already been a strong stock today. It isn't on the imbalances, but it doesn't matter. That's a pretty strong spike. I'll be very fortunate to grab that fill out. Always like it when the market wants to give you an opportunity. Sometimes you just got to take it. If it flushes from here, fair enough. If we flush, I'm pretty sure Microsoft is going to be good. LQR, is that a halt trade we have at the end of the day? Yeah, we have a halter down. Ooh. Yuckity yuck yuck. What goes up must come down.
Darwin in the chat saying, good day for range-bound traders, and I 100% agree with you. This was definitely some of these trades that we took were based off of some range type of trading, I guess, rules or whatever. But yeah, decent range here as we saw. I mean, Amazon has a decent range here as well. But yeah, even in the future not as clean. We asked the 8 ball, are we going to close above 15.1? We saw that this candle right here kind of sold off beneath the 15.1 on the imbalances, but we kind of hold. We're holding. I mean, here's the thing. Why was that 1563 interesting to me? It was previous month low. So we're not even fully done this month, and we're only about 10 days into this month, right? So 10 days into the month, you still got 20 days left to go, right? we're bouncing off previous month lows. So going into next week, that's something I'm going to be keeping in mind. Whether we kind of hover in and around these levels, we kind of wick off of them, have some buying strength off of previous months low, but we're definitely testing. And this is I think this was what, a consecutive red. If I want to just pull up the NQ weekly here. For you guys. Okay, so yeah, take a look at this right here. Consecutive red month. For now, we could very well look. This is kind of the shelf I'm looking at, right? So previous month levels here on the lows, a little bit of a shelf there. So that's kind of key right there, I think, right here. So this candle right here. So yeah, we still have room to the downside as well in this consolidation. So if we kind of continue down this month, and we have a lot of places that might be of interest, but the first one I definitely saw was at 1563, and we kind of held that level today. So that's definitely an interesting look for next week. I still got about 10 shares left on for this move here. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, gonna see how this kind of closes here into the end of the day. Pieced off most of the position right there before the imbalance because we didn't really get to where I was looking for the target, maybe a little bit below this consolidation here. But I guess the trade really was this morning. This morning, the trade that gave you both of those prices, that 139 fail into that 137. Now I was looking for a continued flush underneath 137. That didn't really come in. So you know, it is what it is. What's the next trade? That's what I'm thinking about. I'm already thinking about next week. So some of this price action that's set up today is very, very scrumptious looking going into next week.
Okay, I can get behind confluence and all other stuff. Scrumptious.
A little too emotional. Is that word a little too emotional?
That's going to take some work for me.
Okay, all right.
But a 355 happened. There was a bit of a reversal here, at least on Microsoft. It bounced off VWAP, so I grabbed the out on the bounce off VWAP. But we need to go to the desk. Brendan has something for us.
One, maybe on watch for Monday, guys. Tusk, TUSK to the upside in a big way here in the afternoon. This thing was down huge to start the day. You can see off of miss an earnings report, so still 1.5%. But heavy volume, big move up here late in the day for TUSK, a little energy name.
There's a movie called Tusk, which was like really, it's kind of a funky. It's really, really good. It's got Justin Long in it, and that little kid. What's the Sixth Sense guy? Whatever that kid's name. Anyways, it's a really cool flick. It's kind of oddball, but you really like it. Has nothing to do with the stock, obviously. But yeah, this is definitely one to file away because you see a move like that, you want to trade something like this. If it makes a breakout, that's just way too much bullish action off the bottom. We have a special treat. A couple of things here. Thank you, of course, Obi doing a fantastic job filling in for Sean. And then after the market, I will be on for the after show in Sean's place, and we're going to have Michael Noss locked and loaded and ready to go. So don't go anywhere at 4 o'clock because we're right back up at the desk giving you the after show. We'll take all of your questions, at least as many as we can until we got to get out of here. And another surprise. With only a few minutes to go, we have some viewers that are going to ring the bell for us. So we have Iqbal is here and offered for him to come on camera and say hi. It's okay, he doesn't have to, but he is going to ring the bell in about 2 minutes or so. So no pressure, that's some big shoes to fill. So if you don't like the show for Obi.
I tried my best. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sean, for giving me the chance there. Just got out of the rest of that right there. A little bit of buying action there into the close, couple minutes.
It's a win.
Yeah, it's a win, but nothing to write home about, I guess. Right, a lot of improvement to be had. But you know what? I'm happy to be here. Learned a lot today from Neil. Thank you very much. It's always an honor. Right?
I learned a lot from that. Like every one of your entries, I loved. So that's the thing. I love the decisions that you were making on Amazon because like some of the times you were getting in, which is absolutely perfect.
Tape reads.
I also don't like that saying, nothing to write home about.
Why is that?
Because I kind of feel like you shouldn't need too big of an excuse to write home. Like if you live.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm saying? It's like, no, you should everything is a reason to write home about. Because why wouldn't you want to do that? It's a weird ass saying to me. So it is what it is. You should always say, you should always say you love your mom and pops and let them know what's going on, that kind of stuff. Maybe it's a phone call. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's send them an email, but everything is worth writing home about. The kind of nonsense I said to my mom.
Don't forget where you came from.
Yeah, like my daughter does an interesting,
Mom and Dad,
she smiles the right way, and I'll tell my parents.
Yeah.
Like it's all we care about. With 1 minute to go, the imbalances did pair a little bit. So if you can see here, it's still mostly to the sell side, but most of them paired off. The market is looking like it's going to fall lower. We got underneath 15.1. So was the 8 ball correct? Because it said only if Apple closes red would we be under 15.1.
Oh, look at
and
that.
Apple is up.
Wow.
So the 8 ball right now is completely incorrect if this holds true. So the 8 ball might have to, we love you, Mr. Westermeyer, but the 8 ball today could be a little bit incorrect. There is still time for it to get back. As I was saying, do not go anywhere. We are going to be doing the after show as normal. I'll go to the desk with Brendo, and we're going to have Michael Noss, as I mentioned. And we have a special guest ringing the bell. So if we don't get 1,000 likes, then not just myself will be disappointed, but Iqbal will be disappointed. And you'll be disappointed, right? He'll be disappointed. He even just told me, and I trust him. I can look and I trust him right away. He's not going to break my eardrums, and he's not going to break the mallet, and it's going to be the best bell ring that you've ever seen in the history of this show.
For sure.
So after having put all that pressure on him, here is Iqbal, one of our viewers. Here's your moment to shine in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. You know what to do, and ring it. See, do not break an old man's eardrums. I appreciate that fist bump right there. So there's one of our viewers. Anybody that visits the studio, if you're here and you get a shot, it's like you can ring the bell if you want to. You can come up here and talk to us. We have a microphone for it now, which is pretty darn cool. I actually love the fact
I like that new addition.
that we've done that. So it's been a fun week. Before I head on over to the desk and we sort of wrap this one up, I want to shout out everybody today. Fabian, Ramin doing a fantastic job as always on the 1s and 2s. The midday always bumping when you have a Sharif on, whoever he's with. I mean, today it was with Max. And the reason for that,
today.
And the reason for that is because you were on the desk for Sean. So Sean could be coaching his daughter, big tournament. She's going to be catching. You know they're going to kick butt and obviously have a lot of fun doing it. He'll be back on Monday. We'll all be back on Monday. But Obi, shout out to you for having a great day today.
Thank you
and
for
dropping
having
some
me.
knowledge.
Thank you. I learned a lot as well, so I appreciate everything.
And the love's in the chat, and that's what it's all about. Shout out to all of you. If you've got some questions, do not worry about it. We'll answer questions as well when we do the after show. But we're going to kick it off. We're going to get right over to the desk. We're going to throw you to Brendan. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back trading live 8:30 like we always do on Monday. But for now, let's get to the after show.
Take care.
Hey guys, welcome in. Let's get you caught up here on what you need to know as we head officially into the aftermarket and the after shows.